Hello my fellow hunters, I'm very glad to finally, after 2 months or even more, make a SwitchX video again for you. Fortunately, today they already dropped the changelog for Monster Hunter Wilds update 1.020, or in general you can say title update 2, and I was heavily surprised considering they are entirely ignored the moveset of the SwitchX in the first patch until update 1. In this one, I think like SwitchX is, beside Charge Blade, the weapon with the most changes, and in general SwitchX is the weapon with the most buffs. Currently, we didn't know how strong the buffs are, but I personally think they're a little bit more like Rise motion values, because Wild's motion values are pretty low, especially the elemental ones. You will recognize that a few buffs are especially only made for element files, like this buff, this buff. There are a few elemental, there is not really an elemental motion value, but an elemental multiplier, and for several moves they increase this multiplier. Also the gauge recovery, the reduced gauge consumption, also follow-up moves in general, repositioning, like a bunch of stuff. So I didn't want to read everything here from the text. I've just make a few notes and we just go to the training room and I explain you a little bit better and also show you a little bit of the current motion values or elemental multipliers, or how it's called. So let's start with the first change, which says it's now easier to adjust your distance to monsters when using Unbridled slash and full release slash while in focus mode. So currently I've activated a mod which always shows your rounds, which makes it a little bit easier for the showcase. So if you're doing a full release slash or like Unbridled slash, I'm just gonna quickly charge our SwitchX, and because it if you're doing now a full release slash, here you can change the distance to the monster with the right stick on your PS5 controller, and so it's a little bit easier to change the, or maybe they made the movement a little bit faster, change the distance to the monster. Second change is the backward movement triggered by element discharge finisher can now be reduced slightly by tilting the left stick in the player's character's direction. So it's always, I think, the same position. And to perform this, we are just pressing triangle and circle repetitively. And as you can see, we have a knockback, and this knockback is now a thing you can reduce now. So like you can see, it was like 2 steps of knockback, and in the new patch you can press left stick forward on whatever direction you're, if you move the camera like this, and attacking, you have to do it in the opposite direction, but I think it always should be like this. And yes, so you can negate this knockback. I'm gonna show it again, how it is currently, and then later. Also want to mention, this is just a very come on video. Maybe in the next few days I'll give you a little bit more detailed videos when the data mined motion values are out of the patch. Yes, third change. Significantly increase the elemental scaling of follow-up explosions from sword attacks when using element files. First of all, I was a bit confused because I thought they were talking about the follow-up morph slash explosion, because they're saying in the patch notes follow-up explosions, but I'm pretty sure they just talking about the file burst. So for whatever reason they changed the name of the move from 5th gen, which was just like file bursts, to explosions, and just they mean with the follow explosions because they are having a delay after the standard attack. And just have a look at what's meanwhile called with the new name amped explosion. They have a multiplier of 0.33, which is the same as profile currently, and I think they're gonna double it, so make it like 0.7. And this is a huge change because they are making us using more standard attacks with this buff. And just gonna show you the current damage output. So I'm using a mod which shows in the, how it's called in English, brackets. That's the elemental damage output, and left is the sum, the entire sum. So if you're now amped, we're doing like additional elemental damage, which is like you can see here from the final explosion, 28 and 12. So as you can see, meanwhile, if we made 28 damage with our explosion, 12 comes from the element, which is almost the half. And if they're gonna double this, it's going to be like 75% of the damage output will be elemental, which is pretty insane. Also have to mention that the switch axe I'm using having absolute maximum elemental damage output because it is Audion weapon with like 700 up to 700 element in combat. Yeah, so they're talking about this. Also significantly increase the elemental scaling of follow-up explosions from Unbridled / full release / and X follow-up morph / when using element files. So you already know how I already explained about the usage of the Unbridled and full release / and follow-up morph / is when you go to smash mode and doing the R2 combo. Yeah, so if you can see, if you're doing the R2 counter, you're also doing additional follow-up file burst explosion, or however it's called. And they're also going to buff this, as you can see here, follow-up morph / explosion. So they're also gonna increase the elemental multiplier of this one if you have a elemental file. Next change is for X mode specifically. Follow-up heavy slam and X follow-up morph /, which I already talked about. Also raw damage has been increased. So follow-up heavy raw slam is like this one. Yeah, like this one. For this one, as you can see, the elemental damage output was like only 10%. And for this move, they are also increasing the raw damage output. This one. X follow-up heavy slam, so current motion value is 20 and 75. And they're going to increase these two motion values. Next one is the amount of switch gauge recovered when performing basic attacks in X mode has been increased. So let's have a look at the X mode attacks in general. As you can see, most are like doing like 3 or 7 fill rate. Then in the new patch, they are going to increase the fill rates of the general X attacks. Which, yes, we can discuss a little bit more if we have the data main stuff. Next thing is increase the raw damage and M gauge recovery of X morph rising double / and reduced its switch gauge consumption. So this move is if you're doing the heavy slam and pressing R2 after that. So we go to training settings and disable the smash mode because it's currently a little bit annoying. Yes, so raw damage of the double slash is increased. So it's going to do the heavy slam. Now R2. Yes, these two moves is the move rising double slash. Damage of this move is increased, and if you press circle after this combo, you have the triple slash. I also going to show you how to do this combo, just like wild swings, heavy slam, R2 for double slash, and then circle for the triple slash. Mostly I am also using heavy invincible flurry after this. So this is also increased, so I can just search for this. It's these twos, double slash and triple slash. Motion values are 22 and 26, so they're also going to buff this one. So next change, the amount of switch gauge consumed when performing sword overhead slash has been decreased. Okay, let's go to sword. We're just going to search for overhead. Yes, this one. So as you can see, gauge cost is 7, so they're going to reduce the cost of this move. Yeah, this move is now has less cost, so yeah, they try to use more standard attacks. And also the last thing is fix an issue where the damage scaling from the rapid morph skill, which like nobody uses currently, which is pretty useless, was not being applied to jumping morph slash when performed upping and landing. So if you're doing following move, jumping with R2, here you can see jumping morph slash. Previously rapid morph doesn't apply to this move, and yeah, now after the patch it's working again. Yeah, so I'm pretty glad they increased the elemental damage output of the elemental fields. Huge changes for the switch X, and yeah, pretty looking forward to the new motion values or new gauge values, cost gauge values, however it's called, to explain it a little bit better. So I'm maybe making a follow-up video which is going a little bit more into the changes. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. See you next time.